Before you move to China, watch this first. 15 mistakes to avoid. Have you ever wondered why some foreigners spend years happily building a life in China, while others leave within a few months, convinced they made the wrong decision? It's probably not the reason you're thinking. After living in China for more than 7 years, I've noticed something that almost nobody talks about. The people who struggle the most usually don't arrive unprepared. They arrive prepared for the wrong things. They spend weeks researching visas, salaries, apartment, and which apps to download. Those things matter, but they're not what determines whether you'll actually enjoy living in China. The real difference comes down to something much simpler: your expectations. Today, I'm going to share the 15 biggest mistakes I've seen foreigners make before moving to China. Some cost people money. Others convinced them to leave before they had the chance to discover why so many of us stayed. The good news? Every one of these mistakes can be avoided. And if you're watching this before you move, you're already ahead of where I was when I first arrived. Stay with me until the end, because the final lesson is the one I wish I'd known before moving to China. Hi, I'm Joe. Welcome to the Middle Kingdom Code. If you're planning to teach, work, study, travel, or even do business in China, you've come to the right place. For more than 7 years, I've lived and worked in China, building a career and experiencing both the rewards and challenges of everyday life here. Everything I share comes from first-hand experience. No fear-mongering, just practical advice to help you avoid the mistakes that catch so many newcomers off guard. If you find this helpful, subscribe, like the video, and share it with someone planning to move to China. Let's start with the mistake that quietly causes almost every other one on this list: the wrong mindset. Most people think preparing for China means collecting information about transportation, visas, housing, banking, and everyday life. But what happens when reality doesn't match your research? Sooner or later, it won't. And that's completely normal. The people who adapt the fastest aren't the ones who memorize the most information. They're the ones who learned how to stay flexible. That's the skill nobody tells you to pack. My experience. When I first arrived in China, I thought I was fully prepared. I'd done my research, learned some Mandarin, and planned everything carefully. But reality didn't always match my expectations. The moment I stopped asking, "Why isn't this working the way I'm used to?" and started asking, "How do people solve this here?" everything became easier. China hadn't changed. I had. Myth. If I research enough, nothing will surprise me. Reality. No amount of research can prepare you for every situation. And that's perfectly okay. Success in China isn't about eliminating surprises. It's about becoming comfortable solving problems you've never faced before. Before you spend another hour researching China, spend a few minutes preparing your mindset. Before you spend another hour researching China, expect things to be different. Expect mistakes. And most importantly, expect to grow. That simple shift will make your first months far less stressful. After more than 7 years in China, here's the lesson I'll never forget. Bring curiosity. It will take you farther than confidence ever will. Most people eventually learn that lesson. Then they make another mistake, one that can affect their finances, their happiness, and even whether they decide to stay in China. Because the highest paying job isn't always the best job. Mistake number 2. Instead, I let the viewer discover the next lesson naturally. Most people get that lesson eventually, but then they make another mistake, one that can affect their finances, their happiness, and even whether they decide to stay in China. Because contrary to what many people believe, the highest paying job isn't always the best job. The salary trap. Imagine you receive 2 job offers. One pays more than the other. Which would you choose? Most people immediately choose the higher salary. Moving abroad is expensive, so earning more seems like the obvious choice. But after watching hundreds of foreigners begin their lives in China, I've learned it isn't that simple. Some of the happiest people I've met actually earned less than their colleagues, because salary is only one part of the story. My experience. During my years in China, I met teachers earning some of the highest salaries in their cities, yet they were exhausted and had little time to enjoy life. Others earned a little less but had supportive schools, free weekends, and a much better work-life balance. The happiest people weren't the ones earning the most. They were the ones enjoying their lives the most. Myth. The highest salary means the best opportunity. Reality. A great job isn't measured by salary alone. Look at the whole picture. Working hours, housing, health insurance, paid holidays, management, location, and cost of living. Sometimes a slightly lower salary gives you a far better lifestyle and just as much money in your savings. Whenever you compare job offers, don't ask, which one pays more? Ask, which one gives me the life I want? Compare salary, benefits, working hours, housing, commute, and long-term career growth before making your decision. It's a much smarter way to make one of the biggest decisions of your move. One lesson I learned during my years in business has proven true everywhere I've lived. Never confuse a bigger paycheck with a better life. Sometimes the greatest benefit isn't money. It's having the time and peace of mind to enjoy the country you came to experience. Money matters, but choosing the right city can completely change your experience. Many newcomers think they're moving to one country, when in reality, they're choosing between dozens of completely different lifestyles. Choosing the right city. If someone told you they were moving to Europe, would you assume you already knew what their life would be like? Of course not. Living in Lisbon is different from living in Berlin. Every city has its own personality, rhythm, and culture. China is exactly the same, yet many newcomers assume every city offers a similar experience. It doesn't. When I accepted my position in Tianjin, I didn't know what to expect. As I traveled across China, I quickly realized that every city offered a completely different lifestyle. That's what makes China so fascinating. You're not just discovering one country, you're discovering many different ways of living. Myth. Once you've lived in one Chinese city, you've experienced China. Reality. China is incredibly diverse. Climate, cuisine, cost of living, job opportunities, and even the pace of everyday life change dramatically from city to city. Research your future city as carefully as your future employer. Before accepting any job offer, spend time learning about the city itself. Ask yourself what kind of lifestyle you want. Consider the climate, pace of life, food, nature, entertainment, and how much you want to save each month. Consider the climate, pace of life, food, nature, entertainment, and how much you want to save each month. There isn't one perfect city, only the city that's the best fit for the life you want to build. People often spend weeks comparing apartments, but only a few hours comparing cities. I think that's backwards. Apartments can change, jobs can change, but your city shapes your everyday life. Choose it carefully. Once you've chosen the right city, another habit can quietly make your adjustment much harder. I made this mistake myself. I spent far too much time comparing China to the place I'd left behind. Stop comparing. I used to become frustrated by things that were simply different. I kept asking, why don't they do it like we do? Eventually, I realized I was asking the wrong question. Every country develops solutions that fit its own culture. Once I accepted that, living in China became much easier. Not because everything suddenly made sense, but because I stopped expecting it to. Myth. Different means worse. Reality. Different simply means different. Some things you'll appreciate immediately. Others may never become your preference, and that's okay. Living abroad isn't about agreeing with everything. It's about understanding enough to navigate it successfully. Whenever something surprises you, pause before judging it. Instead of saying, "This doesn't make sense," ask yourself, "What problem is this solving?" You'll be amazed how often the answer changes your perspective. Curiosity is one of the most valuable skills you can pack. One lesson changed everything for me. You don't have to understand everything immediately. Stay curious, and understanding usually comes with time. Once I stopped comparing, I became much more confident, not because I suddenly understood China, but because I became comfortable learning. That confidence made it much easier to tackle something that scares almost every newcomer: learning Mandarin. Learning Mandarin. Let's clear up one of the biggest myths about moving to China. Do you need fluent Mandarin before you arrive? Absolutely not. If you did, thousands of foreigners wouldn't be living successful lives here today. The real mistake is waiting until you arrive to start learning. By then, you're already adjusting to a new apartment, job, city, culture, and routine. Adding Mandarin on top of everything else can quickly become overwhelming. The first time I ordered food in Mandarin, I got part of it wrong. The lady behind the counter smiled, helped me, and we both laughed. I left feeling like I'd achieved something much bigger than ordering lunch. That small success gave me confidence, and confidence became progress. Looking back, I don't remember the embarrassment. I remember the breakthrough. Myth: I'll wait until I'm in China to start learning Mandarin. Reality: you don't need fluency, you need familiarity. Learning just 50 practical words before you move can make your first weeks much easier. Focus on greetings, numbers, directions, food, and asking for help. Those small victories build confidence much faster than memorizing an entire textbook. Start with just 15 minutes a day. Focus on real conversations, not perfect grammar or pronunciation. Your goal isn't to impress people, it's to communicate. People rarely expect foreigners to speak perfect Mandarin. What they appreciate most is genuine effort. Sometimes the fastest way to build a connection is simply showing you're willing to try. By now, you're much better prepared. You've built the right mindset, looked beyond salary, chosen the right city, and started learning Mandarin. So now comes another question. What should you actually bring with you? Surprisingly, the biggest mistake isn't forgetting something. It's bringing too much. Packing smarter. Before moving to China, I packed far more than I needed because I thought I had to prepare for every situation. Within weeks, I realized most of those things were easy to buy here. The items that mattered most weren't expensive. But looking back, they were the personal things that made my new apartment feel like home. The truth is, China is one of the most convenient places I've ever lived. Most of what you need is already there. And if it isn't, there's a good chance you can order it online and have it delivered far quicker than you expect. I still laugh when I think about some of the things I carefully packed. Items I was absolutely convinced I would never find in China. Within a few weeks, most of them were sitting on the shelves of local stores or available online. Meanwhile, the things that actually mattered took almost no space at all. A few family photos, a notebook with handwritten messages, a favorite coffee mug. Those weren't expensive, but they made an unfamiliar apartment feel like home. Sometimes the things that help you adapt aren't practical. They're personal. Myth: I need to bring everything I'll need for the next few years. Reality: bring what is genuinely difficult to replace. Important documents, prescription medications, if needed, personal items that have sentimental value, a few essentials to help you settle in. Everything else, buy it when you get here. You'll save yourself money, stress, and a lot of heavy lifting. Practical blueprint. Before you close your suitcase, ask yourself one simple question. Can I reasonably buy this in China? If the answer is yes, leave it behind. Traveling lighter doesn't just make your journey easier. It gives you room to discover what's available locally. Sometimes that's part of the adventure. Joe's notebook. Pack for your first month, not for your entire future. You'll be surprised how quickly China starts feeling less unfamiliar. Eventually, the suitcases get unpacked. Your apartment begins to feel like home. Work settles into a routine. And then something unexpected happens. The excitement starts to fade. Not because life has become worse, because it has become normal. And that's exactly where many people become disappointed. Beyond the adventure. Let's be honest. When most people imagine moving to China, they picture unforgettable experiences. Walking through ancient temples, watching the skyline light up at night, riding the high-speed trains, exploring night markets, traveling during holidays. Those moments absolutely happen. Some of them will stay with you for the rest of your life. But here's something almost nobody talks about. Most of life isn't exciting. Whether you're in China, Brazil, the United States, or anywhere else, real life happens between the highlights. It's Monday morning. It's grocery shopping after work. It's doing laundry. It's paying bills. It's getting up for work even when you'd rather sleep in. China isn't a permanent vacation. It's a place where real life happens. And once you understand that, you stop chasing constant excitement. You start appreciating everyday life. Ironically, that's when many people begin enjoying China the most. One evening after work, I decided to walk home instead of taking my usual transportation. There were no tourist attractions, just people living their everyday lives. That's when I realized the real beauty of China isn't found in famous landmarks. It's found in the ordinary moments that slowly become part of your life. Myth: living abroad should feel exciting every day. Reality: if every day feels extraordinary, eventually, none of them will. Real happiness comes when ordinary life becomes meaningful. Don't judge your experience by how many tourist attractions you visited. Judge it by something much more important. Are you building routines you enjoy? Are you making friends? Are you learning something new? Are you becoming more confident? Those are the signs that you're creating a life. Not just collecting memories. Lessons from my life. In China, don't chase extraordinary days. Build an extraordinary life. The memories will take care of themselves. Once you've accepted that life isn't meant to feel like a vacation every day, another opportunity begins to appear. One that many newcomers accidentally miss, because they spend most of their time with people who are just like them. And without realizing it, they build a life in China, without ever truly experiencing China. Step outside the expat bubble. Some of my best memories in China happened because I said one simple word: yes. Yes to lunch with colleagues, yes to trying unfamiliar food, yes to local events, and yes to conversations that began with awkward Mandarin and ended with laughter. Those moments taught me more about China than any travel guide ever could, because countries aren't truly understood through landmarks. They're understood through people. Myth: living in China automatically means experiencing Chinese culture. Reality: it doesn't. You can spend years living in China while experiencing very little of it. Real cultural understanding begins when you're willing to step outside your comfort zone. Accept the invitation. Ask the question. Try the unfamiliar restaurant. Take the train to a city you've never visited. Those are the moments that become stories you'll tell for the rest of your life. Challenge yourself to do one new thing every week. It doesn't have to be something dramatic. Visit a neighborhood you've never explored. Learn one new Mandarin phrase. Try a regional dish. Strike up a conversation with a colleague. Growth isn't built through giant leaps. It's built through small moments of curiosity. Lessons from my life. In China, your comfort zone will always be there when you need it. The opportunities outside of it may only come once. And speaking of conversations, there's another mistake I see over and over again. Not because people are careless, but because they're trying to be independent. Sometimes, a single question can save you weeks of frustration. Ask one more question. Assumptions are surprisingly expensive. Think about the last misunderstanding you had. There's a good chance it wasn't caused by bad intentions. It was caused by assumptions. One person thought they understood. The other assumed they had explained clearly. The result? Confusion. When you move to another country, those misunderstandings become even easier to make. Different languages, different expectations, different ways of communicating. That's why asking questions isn't a weakness. It's one of the smartest habits you can develop. My experience. Over the years, I've seen small misunderstandings become big problems simply because nobody asked one more question. Whether it involved work, housing, or everyday life, the solution was almost always the same. Ask, confirm, and never assume. That simple habit saves time. It protects relationships, and it prevents unnecessary stress. Myth. I don't want to ask too many questions. Reality. People usually appreciate thoughtful questions, especially when they see you're making a genuine effort to understand. It's far better to ask today than apologize tomorrow for acting on an incorrect assumption. Whenever you're unsure about something important, pause. Then ask one more question. Whether it's your employer, your landlord, a colleague, or a friend. 5 extra minutes of clarification can save you days of frustration. Joe's notebook. Confidence isn't pretending to know everything. Confidence is being comfortable enough to ask when you don't. Eventually, as the weeks turn into months, you'll notice something interesting. The problems that once felt overwhelming become routine. Ordering food becomes effortless. Taking the subway becomes second nature. The language begins to sound familiar. The city starts to feel smaller. And that's when many people make one final mistake. They stop noticing how much they've grown. Don't measure the bad days, measure the progress. Hundreds of tiny victories quietly accumulated. None of those moments felt life-changing on their own. Together, they changed everything. Myth. If my first few months are difficult, maybe China isn't for me. Reality. The first few months are difficult for almost everyone. Adjustment isn't a sign that you've made the wrong decision. It's a sign that you're growing. Growth is rarely comfortable, but it's almost always worthwhile. At the end of each month, write down 3 things you've learned. 3 things that felt easier than they did 30 days ago. One day you'll read those notes and realize just how far you've come. Don't compare yourself to someone who's been in China for 5 years. Compare yourself to the person you were when you first arrived. That's the comparison that really matters. And that brings me to the final lesson. Not the biggest mistake, the biggest opportunity. Because after more than 7 years in China, I've realized something. The greatest transformation wasn't happening around me, it was happening within me. The biggest lesson, the country doesn't change you. You change yourself. When people ask me, Joe, was moving to China worth it? I don't answer by talking about the food, or the technology, or the transportation. As impressive as those things are, that's not what made the biggest difference in my life. The greatest lesson China taught me had nothing to do with China itself. It taught me something about people, about growth, about myself. Moving to another country doesn't magically transform you. It simply removes the routines you've depended on for years. Suddenly, you're solving problems you've never faced before, communicating in ways you're not used to, making decisions without the safety net you've always had. And little by little, you discover something surprising. You're capable of much more than you thought. My experience. If I could talk to the person who arrived in China more than 7 years ago, I'd tell him this. The challenges would be real, but so would the growth. Living here taught me resilience, opened doors I never expected, and helped me discover strengths I didn't know I had. Looking back, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all, realizing that adapting isn't about becoming someone else. It's about discovering parts of yourself that only appear when life challenges you. Myth: moving to China will either be the best decision of my life or the biggest mistake. Reality: it's rarely that simple. Your experience won't be defined by one decision. It will be shaped by thousands of small ones. Choosing curiosity over judgment, patience over frustration, questions over assumptions, growth over comfort. Those daily choices matter far more than the flight that brought you here. So before you move to China, prepare your documents, research your future city, compare job offers carefully, learn a little Mandarin, pack wisely, do all of those things. But prepare something even more important: your mindset. Decide today that you'll stay curious, that you'll ask questions, that you'll make mistakes without giving up, that you'll embrace the uncomfortable moments instead of fearing them. Because those uncomfortable moments often become the stories you'll treasure the most. After more than 7 years in China, if I could leave you with just one lesson, it would be this: don't move to China expecting life to be easier. Move to China expecting to become stronger. One day you'll look back and realize the greatest journey wasn't the one that took you across the world. It was the one that transformed the person looking back in the mirror. Before we finish, if this video helped you see China from a different perspective, I'd really appreciate your support. Click the like button. It takes just a second, but it helps YouTube recommend this video to more people who are preparing for one of the biggest decisions of their lives. And if you're looking for honest, practical, experience-based advice about living, teaching, working, and building a life in China, I'd love to welcome you to the Middle Kingdom Code. This isn't a channel built on headlines, or stereotypes, or fear. It's built on real experience. The kind of experience that helps you avoid costly mistakes and make confident decisions before you ever step on the plane. So if that's the kind of content you're looking for, go ahead and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on notifications, because there's a lot more coming. One last question. Now, I'd like to hear from you. Which of these 15 mistakes surprised you the most? Or, if you've already lived in China, what lesson would you add to this list? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every comment, and many of my future videos are inspired by your questions and experiences. Your story might even help someone who's watching this months from now. At the beginning of this video, I told you that most people prepare for moving to China by researching the country. And that's true. But after more than 7 years here, I've learned that the people who thrive aren't necessarily the ones who know the most about China before they arrive. They're the ones who never stop learning after they get here. Because China changes. Technology changes. Cities grow. Opportunities evolve. And if you're willing to grow alongside them, you'll discover something extraordinary. Not just about China, but about yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Joe. This is the Middle Kingdom Code, helping you navigate China with confidence. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.